Today is March the 3rd. Is wealth a god? Well, let's find out what Jesus says. We've been reading in the book of Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount. We're going to jump to the book of Luke. It says the very same thing that Matthew says. Luke 16, verse 13. No slave can serve two masters, for a slave will hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. Now, I went to the Dictionary of Deities and Demons to see what it said about Mammon. That's transliteration of the Greek word mammones here. It occurs in the older translations like King James. It is not commonly referred to as either a deity or a demon. What we do have is mammones is apparently transliteration of an Aramaic word that simply means wealth. It's used here in the very same context in verses 9 and again in 11 when Jesus tells a parable about an unjust steward who finds out he's going to be fired, so he goes to his master's debtors, and he ingratiates himself to them by cheating his master out of what is rightfully his. The bottom line is, Jesus says, if you're unfaithful in dishonest wealth, you'll be unfaithful in greater things also. That's Mammon. When you think about wealth in the Old Testament, your mind probably goes to King Solomon. Let's read two passages from the Old Testament. Deuteronomy 17, that gives us the law that the kings of Israel are to live by. And then 1 Kings 10 and 11, that tells us how Solomon lived.
Deuteronomy 17:14 through 20, and 1 Kings 10:23 through 11:13, New Revised Standard Version. Deuteronomy 17:14 through 20. When you have come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and have taken possession of it, and settled in it, and you say, I will set a king over me, like all the nations that are around me, you may indeed set over you a king whom the Lord your God will choose. One of your own community you may set as a king over you. You are not permitted to put a foreigner over you, who is not of your own country. Even so, he must not acquire many horses for himself, or return the people to Egypt in order to acquire more horses, since the Lord has said to you, you must never enter that way again. And he must not acquire many wives for himself, or else his heart will turn away. Also, silver and gold he must not acquire in great quantity for himself. When he has taken the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself a copy of this law on a scroll in the presence of the Levitical priest. It shall remain with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, diligently observing all the words of this law and these statutes, neither exalting himself above other members of the community, nor turning aside from the commandment either to the right or to the left, so that he and his descendants may reign long over his kingdom in Israel. 1 Kings 10, verse 23 through chapter 11:13, New Revised Standard Version. Thus King Solomon excelled all the kings of the earth in riches and in wisdom. The whole earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom which God had put into his mind. Every one of them brought a present, objects of silver and gold, garments, weaponry, spices, horses, and mules, so much year by year. Solomon gathered together chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses, which he stationed in the chariot cities and with the kings in Jerusalem. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stone, and he made cedar as plentiful as the sycamores of the Shephelah. Solomon's import of horses was from Egypt and Cush, and the king's traders received them from Cush at a price. A chariot could be imported from Egypt for 600 shekels of silver and a horse for 150. So, through the king's traders, they were exported to all the kings of the Hittites and the kings of Aram. 1 Kings 11. King Solomon loved many foreign women along with the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from the nations concerning which the Lord had said to the Israelites, "You shall not enter into marriage with them, neither shall they with you, for they will surely incline your heart to follow their gods." Solomon clung to these in love. Among his wives were 700 princesses and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For when Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not true to the Lord his God, as was the heart of his father David. For Solomon followed Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. So Solomon did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and did not completely follow the Lord, as his father David had done. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and for Molech, the abomination of the Ammonites, on the mountain east of Jerusalem. He did the same for all his foreign wives who offered incense and sacrificed to their gods. Then the Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and he commanded him concerning this matter, that he should not follow other gods, but he did not observe what the Lord had commanded. Therefore the Lord said to Solomon, "Since this has been your mind, and you have not kept my covenant and my statutes that I have commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom from you and give it to your servant. Yet for the sake of your father David, I will not do it in your lifetime. I will tear it out of the hand of your son. I will not, however, tear away the entire kingdom. I will give one tribe to your son for the sake of my servant David and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen."
So here from the book of Deuteronomy, the law that's given for Israel's kings, it says, first of all, that they should not acquire for themselves many horses. That would lead them to trust in military might instead of the Lord. They must not return to Egypt. God brought them out of Egypt. Why go back? They must not acquire for themselves many wives. That can lead to distraction. And they must not acquire for themselves much silver and gold, wealth. Well, when we come to 1 Kings 10 and 11, what does it say? It says, Solomon had many horses. He said he got those horses from Egypt. Then it says that he had many wives. And finally, we see in the context this occurs in, he had huge wealth. It's like 1 Kings has read Deuteronomy 17 and just goes down the list and says, nope, didn't do that. Nope, didn't do that. Nope, didn't do that. Jesus, in essence, takes a common Aramaic word for wealth and he deifies it. He puts it up against God. You cannot serve God and serve wealth. Mammon wasn't necessarily commonly held to be a deity in Jesus' day. Jesus makes it that. He says, you know what? You can very easily serve materialism instead of God. And he says, don't do that. So what do we do today? Well, examine your heart. Is materialism in your heart? Get rid of it. Scripture reading from the New Revised Standard Version by Emily Herrera. If you like what you heard today, be sure to click like or subscribe